My computer. Well, welcome back to ScrivTalk, everyone. I'm so glad you've joined us again. My name is Leanna George. I'm an author and co-owner of Scrivenings Press. And here on ScrivTalk is where we meet with our authors and we talk about how they became to write the books that they're sharing with the world, how they what it's like behind the scenes and a little bit into their personal lives. So we're very excited to have that today. And we are visiting with Dawn Ford. She is the author of Shadowscape, which is the fourth installment of the Band of Unlikely Heroes, which is a middle grade fantasy
Yes.
novel. It's an enchanting series where unlikely heroes overcome their fears and weaknesses to protect the kingdom from a powerful evil. A story full of courage, friendship, and a touch of magic. Perfect for readers who love adventure and heart. So, welcome, Dawn. It's good to have you back on Script Talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had fun talking about your Christmas novella. But today we're going to go back into something I think is more your comfort zone a little bit and where your heart truly lies, and that is with middle grade fantasy. So, I want to start at the beginning because I am not a fantasy girl at all. Now, I did read The Hunger Games, and that's about as close as I get to sci-fi, dystopian, speculative. I don't understand all the terms, but you know where I'm going, right?
Yes.
So, what drew you to this genre? How did you get started? I mean, we all make up stories, but this is like taking it to the next level.
Well, I think that God planted a seed in me when I was a child, actually. And I don't tell people this story too often, but when I was about 8 or 9, I was just kind of playing around in my yard. I laid down and took a nap, and I had such a vivid dream
Mm.
that this bubble came and enveloped me and took me for a ride. And it was so vivid. I actually saw the trees and the hilltops and everything. And I traveled to my school and I traveled back home and woke up and it just felt like it actually happened.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure exactly why, but I've always had vivid dreams
Mhm.
like that. So that really kind of opened up, well, what kind of a story could I make for that? And so I remember sitting in classes, looking out the window, thinking, oh, if I was in a bubble, what would I do now? And where would I go? And different things like that. So I think it was just something that God kind of placed there really early in my childhood.
Yeah, that is so neat. So why do you love writing for kids so much? What resonates with that? Is that just your ever, child within you, the inner child?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was, that dream or if it was just I loved the stories when I was a child. One of them that I really loved was a Boxcar Children,
Hmm.
and I always wanted to go out and have my own adventures, and kind of be independent and on my own and find my own way and how would I do this and how would I do that and survival kind of things. And I think every child kind of does. I don't know if every child like me, you want to run away at some point in life.
Oh yeah, who doesn't, right? Who doesn't have that
And my dad
story?
sat there and said, "Okay, well, what can we get you, for going away? We'll get you a banana, we'll get you this, we'll get you that." And but I was really serious about that. I just always have adventure has always been kind of a part of who I am, and nature and everything is always the wonder of it has always been there. And I don't know that I've ever lost that childish awe
Mm.
when it comes to certain things. And just um, you talked about Hunger Games, and that was I loved Hunger Games and
Mhm.
Harry Potter, and just different things that bring you awe. And I think as adults we kind of lose that.
Mm. So true. So true.
So I've always kind of been stuck in that kind of mindset. So it just kind of comes easy to me.
Okay. I love that. I love that. Um, So this band of unlikely heroes, the whole time I'm thinking and getting and prepping for this interview, my mind is going to Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Because they're like this band of unlikely heroes. That's why my brain keeps going. But it's such a meaningful concept, right? Ordinary. characters facing extraordinary challenges. So, what inspired the idea behind this series? And did you always plan for it to be a series?
Yes, actually, the series was planned out before I started writing very far on the
Mhm.
book itself. Um, so it started out because I wanted, when I was a child, when I was growing up, there just wasn't a whole lot of really, really good stories that were. I think I read above. We'll start there. I read above because I loved words. I loved, books and everything. And I was reading above my age group when I was little and getting into those kind of books. I mean, you had like Flowers in the Attic and different things like that that weren't necessarily appropriate.
No, not at all.
And that even then it disturbed my senses. And I was a horror girl. My dad
Oh,
and I would
okay.
watch Creature Feature, and I loved horror, but that was really disturbing on levels that I can't
Hmm.
even explain.
Yeah.
And when I became an adult and I was trying to lead my children towards things to read, I thought, I really, there are some stories that I would love to be able to tell myself,
Mm.
to be able to write them out and get them out there for children to read that are appropriate. But they're, like Lord of the Rings, it's adventurous and it's fun and it envelops you, but it's clean and it's okay for, kids to read.
Hmm.
And so that's where I started from. I wanted something that could really resonate with children, and not just any child. I wanted children that maybe didn't fit
Yeah.
in you know the normal ways, or I don't know what normal is really, but
Yeah.
they feel like they're a little bit outcast.
Mm.
um, and so I wanted characters that were kind of flawed in that way, that weren't necessarily what you would think of, because you think of, oh, the cheerleader is a pretty one, and she's always getting the guy, and the football player, or the really charismatic kind of character. Well, not everybody's that way, and
Right.
I wanted something that kids could actually be able to identify with.
Yeah.
Flawed characters that weren't completely perfect in a world where they had to fit in and figure things out.
Yeah. And I love that. I think when you said, that aren't perfect, I mean, it, not so much uh, perfect, but it's just so ordinary and the underdog kind of situation,
Yes,
right? I mean, why
yes,
why do so many people love Rudy even though they don't like football, right? Because it's the
yeah,
underdog story, right? We're rooting for
yes,
him to overcome against all odds. And so I love that resonates within your stories too.
yeah.
I think that's a really, really good. Okay, so I've been saying Shadows Cape. Is it Shadows Cape or Shadowscape? Am I
Shadow Cape. So
Shadow?
all of them are
There's no S
of
in there, it's
sorts.
just Shadow Cape.
Yeah.
And that's because I mistyped it, and that's why I keep saying the wrong thing. So my apologies to you,
Oh,
author.
that's all right.
All right. And so in Shadow Cape, we meet Grendel, right? Is that how I'm saying it?
Yes.
Okay. Who is a bookish giantess who loves science but wrestles with a frightening curse. How did her character come to life, and what makes her stand out from the other heroes?
So Grendel is I all of the characters are kind of from fairy tales one way or another.
Hmm.
And she was from Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
But instead of Beauty, she's the Beast.
Right.
And so she's been cursed, and what happens is she changes into, it's really more of a cat-like character, because she's timid, like, kind of a cowardly cat kind of
Okay.
thing, cowardly lion. But she came from that.
Mm.
And so I wanted her to be fearful and uh, not really. She comes from a scientific background, and so she doesn't understand the curse. She doesn't understand how this is actually happening to her. Um, but she has to learn to be able to not be afraid of herself and what's happening to her, and overcome that.
Right.
So that's where I really wanted to bring her into this. Everybody else is going to be bold in their own way, and she's going to be the timid one that's going to be the unlikely hero.
Okay.
So, Hora she's fierce, Rowan is just incredibly, intelligent in Glory. In Tatterhood, she's got her, her fairiness and her beauty and her magic. But Grendel doesn't, I mean, she's bookish, but she's not, and she's scientific. She just doesn't really have anything. I wanted her to be able to overcome the timidity, the being scared of her own self and her own
Mm.
skin.
I love that. And I know that for me, that resonates within me so deeply. So I'm sure it resonates with others because,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I can remember for the longest time being the most timid person about every little thing, right? I think it's because I grew up with this lie that the world isn't a safe place.
right.
So I, was scared of everything or scared of making mistakes or scared of doing this. And it was just so that timidity just is so paralyzing. And obviously it came from childhood, right? So there are
Yeah,
probably these kids who are dealing with that same issue who
yeah,
just connect with her and just see that in themselves. And hopefully, as they read her story, they will get that courage as well.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. So let's talk a little about the world you've created, okay? Because I'm always in awe of you speculative people because y'all are so creative in order to be able to create this entire world, right? I mean, I live right here, right now. I need what I can see, taste, touch, all that kind of stuff, right? But you guys are so gifted at crafting worlds that are just unlike anything else. So let's talk a little about the world of the Wilden Lands because it is vivid and full of imagination. So where do you draw your inspiration for your fantasy settings, your creatures, and of course your magical systems?
Yeah, so I wanted a fairy tale because it's a twisted fairy tale kind of a story. So I wanted a fairy tale kind of land where you'd have castles and you'd have villages and you'd have the secret places and beautiful, awe-inspiring mountains and the just different things. But you'd also have the dark places,
Mm.
and so that all kind of is put in there. And when I first began this, when I started with Hora, one of my inspirations, I love the Addams family.
Mhm.
And everything that is not something that you would really want is something that they like, right? So it's always the opposite. And Hora likes spruce juice and she likes, three weed salad and, just different things like that. And so I wanted to fit kind of that unexpected into the story too. And so the marshes are, kind of a fun place to go and it's her secret place. And there's always, there's the dark places and the really beautiful places as well. So I built that up from just trying to be unexpected.
Mm.
And especially in the Riven, I really, when I was writing that particular part where they actually go into the Riven, I was so blocked. I wasn't sure how I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted it to be kind of a maze
Hmm.
of places that they were flipped from one place to another and how to do that.
Okay.
And so the magic really had to come into play there. And I wanted something that was going to be, because I know that there's a lot of Christians out there that don't like the magic concept into children's books, and
Yep.
you have to really be careful to
Sure.
not cross over any kind of lines there.
Right.
And so I wanted something that was going to be more earth-based and creator-based.
Mm.
And so there's a creature god, and he bestows these kind of gifts and the magic of the land. And so it's all that had to be a very central part of how I was creating the world
Yeah.
and the whole entire different lands that I had. So I took from that what I could because I see magic myself. I see magic in the creation.
Hmm.
And if you go back to the Bible where there's Moses and he, throws down the
Yep.
stick and it becomes a snake, I mean, there is actual magical things that happen in the Bible, but it's more of a natural kind of a magic. And so that's what I wanted to have permeate the pages is a more of a natural, even though fairies have innate magic, it
Hmm.
was something the creature God instilled in them.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted to have. So the magic isn't something that's scary for
Right.
children or scary for parents to have for the children,
Yeah.
but it was something God based.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that. So, because I will be the first to admit, it took me a long time to come around to Harry Potter because of all the magic, right?
Right.
And my kids are like, "Mom, you didn't let us read Harry Potter when we were kids." Like, I know, wasn't saying I was perfect. I did the best I could with what I had at the time, but you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So I can, it's just it's real for parents, right? And so
Yes.
it's good that you really explain that so well so that people can understand and know that it's not the sorcery or any of that kind of stuff. It's just the
Right.
different kinds. And I think I think I agree with you, that there's something supernatural right happening when when he throws down that rod. So, I mean, who's to say? I think there's so much that our finite minds just can't comprehend or understand,
Right.
you know? Um,
Right.
so yeah, but obviously you have a little bit of a way to figure it out and bring that down to the page, and I think that's great. So, okay, well, this book touches on themes of courage, transformation, and believing in yourself. So, what do you hope young readers will take away from Grendel's journey?
So, in Grendel, we need to learn that we can trust ourselves. And
That's scary.
yeah, even though, you're afraid, you don't necessarily have to do it alone. Where, she runs off, well, every time she changes, she runs off, but she comes back. She comes back, and every time she's a little bit stronger for it.
Mm,
Um, and to be able to know that you can reach out to others, around you that can help you get through any kind of thing that you're afraid of.
yeah.
Because growing up is scary. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not really in control of the world.
Hmm.
And that's what I love about children's books is they kind of put a piece of the world in their hands that maybe they can control when they're reading it.
Mm,
And I want that to be something that they can take away is that, what, I can be afraid, but I can be brave while I'm afraid, or I can be scared, but I can still try.
yeah.
And especially with Grendel, because she's so scared of every time that she changes and every time the curse kind of takes over, it just really shakes her and she just loses, complete control. And it's okay once in a while for that to happen. We can have things that just feel like they're out of control, but we can go ahead and take a moment and then come back to ourselves and find that we can trust ourselves to get through these moments.
Yeah.
It's so hard for kids these days. We didn't have this when we were kids,
No, not at all, not at all. But we still had the issues,
We did.
we still had the issues, but the world was just a totally different place.
Yeah, but it's such a, everything's kind of at their fingertips now. And
Yeah.
so, I hope that they can see that you can be brave no matter what circumstances are going through.
That's beautiful. That's great. That's great. So, um, are we going to, is this book for the final book of the series?
It is.
It
Yeah, it
is.
is. I don't know that I'll have anything else for these characters. I mean, I could always come back and have Hora after she's, been queen for a while, but that would probably be a different one. That would be more of a teen thing and there'd be a romance and it just wouldn't be quite the same. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I want to leave them where they're at, so you can kind of imagine yourself what happens
Yeah.
happily ever after.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And I think too, I mean, I think we as authors, as the creators of these imaginary people, right? They've run their course with us.
Yeah.
They just run their course. And so it's okay. I mean, I think that's a good thing too. So, all right. So we know there's nothing else coming, but I want to stop real quick and I want to backtrack a little bit. I want to talk about your first series, which is
Okay.
the Firebird series. And if y'all have not seen the covers, well, all of her covers are great, but the covers for this series, the Firebird series, they are breathtaking. I mean, absolutely breathtaking. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about the Firebird series and how is it different, but the same fascinating fantasy world as the Unlikely Heroes.
Yeah, so when I first dreamt up Tambrin in the Firebird series, I wanted someone that wasn't going to be able to trust her gifts that God had instilled in her.
Mm,
And she was going to have to really kind of work her way into trusting herself and trusting her gifts and trusting what he had, given to her, and the task that he put before her too. Because like in the Wilden Lands and like in my Band of Unlikely Heroes series, she has an evil that's trying to take over. And there's more than one world there. There's
Mm.
different kingdoms through a portal. So it's a portal fantasy.
Okay.
But yeah, I wanted her to be able to struggle with coming to terms with what she saw as maybe a curse, because she has this uncontrollable ability to call items to her, and every time she gets upset, that it happens. Something comes to her to maybe help her or ease her fears or whatever. But it always gets her in trouble, and she sees it as a curse. And so she needed to be able to flip that
Mm.
and see that that was actually a gift that she was going to be able to use for good.
Mm.
And sometimes, especially as teenagers, we don't trust ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves. We don't see the great things about ourselves.
No, not at all. No.
Others can see that about us, right? And we can see that about others.
Hmm.
But when we look in the mirror, we see the flawed individual or the person, we can see the person we don't want to be. We want to be something more,
Sure.
something
Right.
better. And I wanted that character to be flawed in that way, where she didn't trust herself, she didn't believe in herself, and she had to come around and really see her gifts as gifts.
Yeah.
That was my first thought in that story.
Yeah. Thing that keeps coming to mind. So, right, the Guardians of the Galaxy is what I think about with your unlikely heroes, and
Mhm.
with the girl, the Firebird series, because it's the girl with the ice in her, fire in her eyes, ice in her veins.
She got fire. She's got stars in her eyes. She's got
Sorry,
fire in her veins, and then she's got a dragon's heart.
a dragon's heart. Okay. So, and you talk about her having this gift that she, when she gets out of control, she cannot tame it. I was thinking of Frozen, right, where the girl
Yes.
has the ability to make ice, the Ice Queen. So, um, yeah. So, I do watch kid stuff a lot. So, I like to think I'm a kid at heart. So anyway, okay, so that's great. I love that. I love how you are just really trying to connect with these kids where they are, right? In a way that they can feel comfortable and relate to it. So that's a gift, definitely a gift. So, but now that we know where you were with the Firebird series and where you are with the Band of Unlikely Heroes, what is on the horizon for you?
So I have like four stories in my head that just keep battling. I haven't started anything yet, but there's two of them that are really kind of they're both wrestling each other for dominance in my mind.
Uh-huh.
One of them is actually one that doesn't have any kind of supernatural to it at all, which is a sequel to my first book that I ever wrote, which is called Knee High Lies.
Okay.
And I published that one myself.
Okay.
So that one is about a girl who struggles with her dysfunctional family, and she lies and lies and lies, and then her lies kind of cave in on her. But I want a sequel to that one. It was a happily ever after.
Okay.
I want to come back, and it was she graduated high school, and 10 years later she comes back, and things weren't as happily ever after
Mhm.
as what they were supposed to be. And so then we have to kind of come home again.
Mm.
So that's one of them that's in there. Another one is kind of a spin-off of the Firebird series, where
Okay.
it's in that world. The world's expanded, and we have a protagonist that is going to be kind of a trustee to an inn in a world that doesn't know about magic.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things that I'm working on, trying to figure that one all out. There's Jenny Schwartz has written a series that I love too, and I kind of there's something there. And I also want to write a cozy mystery. So I've got all kinds of plates in the air. I just don't know which one I'm going to end up going
Yeah,
with.
I
So,
hear you. I hear you. Now, which you mentioned the cozy mystery, which I love because it brings me to my next question, which is you've written for both young readers and adults, right? We know that
yes,
your recent novella collection, The Wonders of the Star within the Starlit Inn, was an adult. I mean,
yes.
it sounds bad to say that's an adult book. We don't produce that kind of adult book. But when you're talking about kids versus adults, yeah, that's what we were talking about. So, how is writing different for kids than it is for adults?
Okay. Well, like we had talked about before, kids aren't in control of their world, right? And adults kind of are. And so uh, children, you have a lot of wonder, a lot of adventure, exploration, and things that they, just the pieces that they know and the big unknown.
Hmm.
And adults, there's not really that piece of it there. They're trying to make their way in a world that they already know
Right.
and trying to make the best of whatever circumstances they're in. Now, children do that too, but it's just there's not as much necessarily wonder.
Yeah.
Although in the Wonders of the Starlit Inn, I did put a lot of wonder in that story, so that
Yeah.
was really kind of fun. And I will, besides the sequel to Knee High Lies, I will always have some sort of a supernatural tilt to anything.
Yeah.
Even the cozy mystery, I kind of want to have a supernatural little tilt to that one as well. And
So will it be for
there's
adults or kids?
that would be for adults.
Okay. I wonder if you
Yeah.
could write a cozy mystery for kids.
Yeah, I don't know. There's, different things out there, but
I mean, I think like when I was a kid, Encyclopedia Brown, he was kind of a cozy mystery for kids.
yeah, yeah. And there's, you got the Babysitters Club where they're trying to figure out things. And of course, they have more series now, even.
Oh, sure.
I'm just starting to get into those with grandchildren.
Oh,
So I'm just starting with that world again.
again, that's good
I'm
though.
way back where with the Treehouse Kids or
Yeah.
was it
Yep.
the Treehouse Kids or there was a Treehouse something or other and they had a
Yeah.
group of
I know.
kids.
I know what you're talking about. You had the box,
Yeah.
you had the tree house, you had the Valley Girl ones, the Babysitters Club. And
Babysitters Club,
yeah,
yeah.
and then
And
we
there
had
was a Valley one too,
Valley one too.
some sort
Yeah.
of Valley.
Yeah. So also we're just showing our age here, but that's okay.
I know, I know.
Okay, so yeah, so I like that analysis of how it's different, but yet you still want to create that wonder within it as an adult, which I think is great because we do. We as an adult, we're so bombarded with responsibility and requirements and all the different things that we do, we lose that wonder. And
We
I think that's why
do.
so many adults love the Hunger Games and they love
Yeah,
the YA adult series because we get to really leave our everyday adult life and go back to being a kid when it was
yeah.
a lot more fun. Uh,
Right, right.
that kind of stuff. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about what sparked your writing journey. Where was that moment that you were like, I want to be an author? Was there one? I mean, what is your history like? Because for someone to be able to relate to kids so well, were you a teacher or, what was your background before and how did you come into writing?
No, I've always worked in like office jobs, different things like that. I've worked in nursing homes too, insurance. So, I mean, really dull kind of things. And with my imagination, that's really
You had you had plenty of boring stuff to let your imagination fly. Yeah, that's funny.
But no, I never went to college or anything, but I had written um, a study for women for my church.
Uh-huh.
And it was I had grown up in a dysfunctional family, which is knee highlights is actually kind of I took a lot of instances in my life and I fictionalized it into a story. And so coming to Christ and then, having to kind of turn my life around and stop, I was the one that stopped the addiction in my family. I wasn't going to, go down that path. And there was a lot of things that I had to wrestle with, in order to really just kind of make some peace with my history and going forward as a Christian. And so I wrote a study for women. I think it was titled "It's All About Me," which doesn't sound good, but it's really about how you are able to relate to the world and react to the world
Hmm.
instead of being reactive, being proactive.
Hmm.
Instead of being hateful, turn it around and be, more empathetic. And how we do that as women, especially when, we're called upon in so many different ways, mothers and wives, and, we're working and, we've got all of our church activities and different things. And, we're always putting out for, of ourselves and trying to give, and how we can actually fill ourselves up. And so that's how I kind of started. I did that study. I don't think it'll ever get beyond the ladies that I did it with, but it was a start, and I had my best friend, she had done all kinds of writing and different things, fan fiction.
Uh-huh.
And she had decided she wanted to write a couple of books, and she had written one and wanted to go to this meeting. It was in central Iowa, and we live on the edge of Iowa.
Hmm.
And she didn't want to go alone, so she called on me to go with her. And so I did. And we met the great Judith Miller.
Oh.
And she was actually able to mentor my best friend and get her
Oh.
a publishing deal. And
Wow.
I thought, well, I could probably do that.
Okay.
And I started out writing. It was more of a spiritual warfare kind of a story.
Hmm.
And that'll never see the light of day. It was
I hear
not
you.
good.
I
But
hear
it started me on a journey towards what I really wanted to do. I knew it was something um, that was going to be kind of supernatural itself. It was going to be more magical, more, fantasy, because I love fantasy. I just love fantasy. I like science fiction,
you. Hmm.
and I love fantasy.
Okay.
And that was always going to be, because every time I would take, and put my stories up for different contests, I was always told, well, this one, which is fantasy, is always better than this one, which is not. And so this is where you really should be working towards. And so I took that advice, and then I
Yeah.
worked towards the fantasy side of it.
Huh.
Although I did have to write knee-high lies, because I had to kind of purge that from my body before I could actually get out there and
Yeah. Well, the
do
good
anything
news
else. But
is, we all come from dysfunctional families. So,
yeah, well, but growing up, I didn't realize that. I thought everybody else was normal, and I was dysfunctional.
right.
So,
Yeah.
have to kind of, have a little space and learn that in life.
That's right. And there's always, even with Christian families, there's still some dysfunction. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But all right. So, writing fantasy, which is what you said you do, you're stronger in, right?
Yes.
It takes equal parts imagination and perseverance. So, what does your writing process look like, and how do you stay inspired through each project?
It's messy.
Is it?
And I say this to a woman who actually is very organized and everything. It is very messy.
All
Um,
writing is, though. I mean,
it is.
we create chaos first, and then
You
we
have to.
you have to. I mean, there is no way that something is just going to come out of your head and onto the paper in just perfect organized fashion. It's just not.
No, no. And I have charts, and I'll have things taped to the walls, and I have napkins with things written on it. I have notebooks that are just, full of different notes and different things. And I have to have it around me when I'm writing.
Mhm.
I have to have all of that stuff there, so I remember I was going to do this, and where was that? And so I have to, scramble through all of my notes and everything. And because you've got so many things going on in your head, especially when you've got a series
Yeah,
going on. I mean, there's so many threads that you've got to really keep a hold of and try to get that all the way to the end.
yeah,
And that was a challenge for me, because I mean, I had written a lot, but I hadn't actually done a series until I did the Firebird series. And that was a challenge that was really, really neat to be able to work out, and feel like, when I got to the end, that I actually accomplished what I wanted to with that.
hmm,
And the same with the Band of Unlikely Heroes series. So it gets messy.
yeah.
I do like to have light music when I'm writing. I like to have some incense. So
Okay.
if I'm writing in a forest, I have one that's like a fir,
Oh,
balsam,
okay.
and it just kind of, I have to be inspired in that way. Um, I do love going on retreats. I do that with writer friends.
Mhm.
And when I was writing really difficult parts of this series, my husband, I told him, I said, we have to go somewhere. I have to go somewhere that's pretty and whatever. And so I can be immersed in something
Yep.
that's inspiring. I don't want to, see my four walls anymore. I'm
Right.
tired of my four walls. And
Yep.
so I have to go somewhere that I can be inspired. And so, yeah, it can be difficult, especially for someone as visual as I can be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that because we have we're blessed to have friends who have an oceanfront property in the Dominican. And when I go there and I just sit right there on that beach and I listen to those waves, and I just don't think, but I'm thinking, right? Because ideas
Yes.
just start pouring down. Just
Do.
do. And so one time when I was kind of stuck, I went back to their house by myself and it was just like the dam broke open because, it was just being in that place. Like you said, it was just outside your four walls, outside your ordinary. I mean, you can go to a coffee shop, you could go to your
Yeah.
library, but they're not just this inspiration of nature and beauty and everything all put together. Right?
Yes.
And it
Yes.
looks different for every author. Some want that cozy cabin, right? I love the beach, just it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
I totally agree. We need that. Especially I mean, like I said, with fantasy, you're just at another level. Because there's, like you said, I remember one time reading about J.K. Rowling's um, chart for all of her magic potions and spells and stuff like that. And I mean that thing was I was just like, you have to keep just such detailed
Yeah.
notes, and because if you don't, people will call you on it.
Oh yeah, they know.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. So all right. Well, have you ever thought about writing anything? You just talked about writing cozy mystery. Sorry. I was going to say, have you
Yeah.
written anything about another genre? But you already said that. So, okay, I will skip to that next question. So what would you give to aspiring authors? I mean, you have the beauty of writing to kids at a stage where they are looking for things in their life to think about. Maybe I would do that when I get older, right? I mean, I really hate that we ask kids when they're little, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because, I mean, they have no clue. I was
Yeah.
50 before I had a clue,
Right?
you know?
Yeah.
So I hate asking kids that question. But um, you have a special place where you are at writing for kids that might actually inspire them to want to do that. So what would you say to somebody who is an aspiring author first, who is younger, like a middle grader, and then somebody who is older as an adult?
Yeah, I would just say go for it. Sometimes we need permission to go ahead and do those things that we really want to do,
Mhm.
and to have someone say, you know what, that's a great idea. And that unleashes something inside us of children, that somebody believes in them.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I could do this,
yeah,
instead of, oh, and you can't fault parents, right? Because I would be, when my kids would come up to me and they'd, oh, I would love to be a basketball player. And I'm looking at my little short, child thinking, probably not going to happen, honey. But I was, you have to kind of at least give them the ability to go out there and try,
sure,
to
absolutely.
try something. And if it fails, try something else.
Yes.
If you write about a dog and it just doesn't work out, write something else,
Yeah.
just keep at it, because perseverance is what's going to get you there.
Hmm.
They'll tell about the rabbit and the turtle.
Yeah.
Who won?
Yeah.
It was the turtle,
Yeah.
because it kept trying and it kept going and it didn't stop.
Right.
And that's what you need, is that perseverance. And it doesn't have to be beautiful.
Yeah.
First story that I wrote is not very pretty.
Yeah. There's all of us have stories that we have. I have at least three written out, partial. They're not full, but I'm like,
Yeah.
if I go back and read that now, I'd be like, ooh.
Right. And I wrote poetry when I was a teenager, and I go back to that and I kind of cringe now.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
was always, it's funny how those pieces are always there that you see along, after you
Mhm.
can kind of look back on things.
Yes.
Um, but it took kind of somebody doing it and me thinking, well, I could do that.
Yeah,
And to tell a kid, well, you know what, you could do that.
that's right.
Why not try it?
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think especially for creatives, it's so important to really encourage because it's a very fragile, I want to say kind of like ecosystem because creativity isn't as well received in our culture
Right.
in terms of why can't you be a doctor or a lawyer or, because most creatives, when they go tell their parents, I want to be a writer, you'll never make any money doing that.
Right.
And so we discourage them. So I love that you say give them permission. It is go for it. Here is your permission slip. Don't
Yeah.
worry about the money. Don't worry about. the business side of stuff. I mean, it is a headache. We both know that as authors, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
when you've got such a fragile little child there just thinking and reading, I could write a fantasy world, and they do. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember being 8 years old and driving my bike out, riding my bike out to this empty field. And then I would come home and I would get on my mom's little typewriter and I would start making up stories about what was going on and why would the mounds moved all this, different way. And just
Right?
imaginations flow.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
My grandkid, my grandson Luke, one time he had this story in his head, and he had all of his little things all of his toys and stuff, and he had us all come down, and he play
Oh,
acted it all out, and it was just the most precious thing. And you know what? It was great. It was fabulous, and he was very complicated how he had the story go and everything. He knew
oh,
exactly how he was doing everything, and you know what? That takes something. Encourage that,
yes.
let them do that, and they'll blossom right before your eyes. That's amazing,
Yeah.
when you see that happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dawn, it's been so fun to talk with you. I mean, we could probably keep talking, but we do have to bring it to a close. So before I let everybody know how to connect with you, I do have a few lightning round questions I do with
Okay.
every author. They're not the same. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions. Try not to think too much and just blurt out the first thing that comes to your mind, okay?
Okay.
All right. Dragons or unicorns?
Unicorns.
Oh, magic potion or enchanted sword?
Enchanted sword.
Hmm. Ability to fly or ability to be invisible?
Fly invisible.
Fly invisible.
Item.
All right. Are you an early bird rider or a night owl rider?
Night owl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Plotter, pantser, or in between?
I'm a pantser, but I'm learning to be a plotter. I'm
Okay.
getting there.
Getting there. All right. Um, if you could turn your own story or yourself into a character in a story, what would your magical ability be?
Oh gosh, I think healing.
Mm, love that.
I
Okay.
mean, it just comes in handy.
Yeah. All right. Coffee, tea, or cocoa?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Really strong coffee.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. And then let me see. What mythical creature best represents your personality?
Oh, I've never thought of that. Oh, something that's put together probably. I'd have to have a lion and something else matched with it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it'd have to be a couple of different things because
Oh,
I'm kind of a changeling.
okay.
Maybe that's just what I should say, a changeling.
Is that the
Yeah.
same as a trying to get my sci-fi terminology here? Shapeshifter.
Yeah, changeling's a little different.
Oh,
A little different. It's got different properties.
okay. I don't know that I'll ever get this, but
Yeah,
I'll
that's all
try.
right.
I'll try.
I'll have to figure things out myself.
All right. Well, tell everybody that's watching or listening to this later, how can they connect with you?
I have a website, dawnfordauthor.com. You can find me there. I'm also on Facebook. Look for Dawn Ford Author there. Instagram. I have Pinterest pages as well. Again, just find Dawn Ford Author
Okay. So Dawn Ford author all over the internet.
everywhere I can find a place. I'm not on X or TikTok, but you can find me other places.
Okay, good. Okay, well, I hope everybody will connect with you. Thanks so much for being here with us today. I've had so much fun visiting with you.
Thanks, Leanna.
Yeah. So, okay, friends, Shadowscape, book four. No, it's Shadow Cape. There's
Shadow Kate.
reading my thing here, and there's no S in there. So, friends, Shadow Cape, the book four in the Band of Unlikely Heroes. is going to be available on November 11th, 2025. You can pre-order it now, an ebook version. And so make sure you mark your calendar if you want that paperback, or go ahead and pre-order and show Dawn support and get her,
Mhm.
up there in the rankings so that more people can find her wonderful stories. So, and especially if you have a young reader in your life who loves adventurous tales with heart and hope, be sure to grab your copy and share it with them today. Read it together. That would be even better.
Yes.
So, well, until next time, keep reading, keep dreaming, and keep supporting clean, inspiring fiction from Scrivenings Press and its authors. And we will look forward to seeing you on our next Scriv Talk. Until then, bye bye.
Bye.